The year 1914 marked a turning point in history. It was the year a great war engulfed Europe, forever changing the course of the 20th century. This conflict, World War I, shattered the fragile peace that had held for decades. It unleashed unprecedented levels of violence and destruction. Millions perished on battlefields that spanned from the trenches of France to the plains of Russia. This war was a global conflict, drawing in nations from around the world. It pitted the Allied powers, led by France, Britain and Russia, against the Central Powers of Germany, Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire. The causes of the war were complex and interconnected. A tangled web of alliances, fueled by nationalism, imperialism and militarism, set the stage for this devastating conflict. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, provided the spark that ignited the powder keg. Austria-Hungary, blaming Serbia for the assassination, declared war. The alliance system designed to maintain peace instead drew one nation after another into the abyss. The world watched in disbelief as Europe, a continent that prided itself on its progress and civilization, plunged into the abyss of war. Little did they know that this conflict would last for 4 long years, leaving an indelible mark on humanity. To understand the outbreak of World War I, we must delve into the long-simmering tensions that gripped Europe in the early 20th century. Nationalism, a powerful force that emphasized national identity and pride, fueled rivalries among European nations. Each country sought to assert its dominance and expand its influence, creating a climate of suspicion and hostility. Imperialism, the drive to acquire colonies and build empires, further exacerbated tensions. European powers competed fiercely for control of overseas territories, seeking raw materials, markets for their goods, and strategic advantage. This competition bred resentment and distrust, pushing nations closer to the brink of war. To protect their interests and deter aggression, the European nations formed a complex web of alliances. These alliances, intended to maintain the balance of power, had the unintended consequence of escalating tensions. An attack on one country could trigger a chain reaction, drawing all allied nations into the conflict. The alliance system, while seemingly a safeguard against war, created a dangerous situation where a minor incident could spiral out of control. This system, coupled with the forces of nationalism and imperialism, transformed Europe into a powder keg primed for explosion. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his wife Sophie in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, provided the spark that ignited the Great War. The assassin, Gavrilo Princip, was a Serbian nationalist who sought to free Bosnia from Austro-Hungarian rule. Austria-Hungary, outraged by the assassination, blamed Serbia and issued an ultimatum demanding satisfaction. Serbia, though willing to meet most of the demands, refused to allow Austrian officials to participate in the investigation of the assassination. Austria-Hungary, unsatisfied with Serbia's response, declared war on July 28, 1914. The alliance system, designed to prevent war, instead set in motion a chain reaction that quickly engulfed Europe in flames. Russia, bound by treaty to protect Serbia, mobilized its army. Germany, allied with Austria-Hungary, viewed Russian mobilization as a threat and declared war on Russia on August 1, 1914. France, allied with Russia, mobilized its army in response to Germany's declaration of war. Germany, fearing a two-front war, declared war on France on August 3, 1914. On August 4, 1914, Great Britain, obligated by treaty to defend Belgium's neutrality, declared war on Germany after German troops invaded Belgium on their way to France. Within a week, the major powers of Europe were at war. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand had set in motion a chain of events that plunged Europe into the abyss of World War I. Section 4. Trench Warfare, a Grueling Stalemate. The early months of World War I were marked by mobile warfare as armies clashed in open battles. However, as the war progressed, a stalemate developed on the Western Front, characterized by trench warfare. Trenches, elaborate systems of ditches dug into the ground, stretched for hundreds of miles across France and Belgium. soldiers on both sides faced unimaginable conditions. They lived in constant fear of enemy fire, exposed to the elements and surrounded by the horrors of war. Life in the trenches was a nightmare. Soldiers endured constant shelling, sniper fire, and the threat of poison gas attacks. Disease was rampant, and the stench of death permeated the air. Rats, lice, and other vermin were constant companions. Despite the horrors, soldiers on both sides displayed remarkable resilience and courage. They fought and died for their countries, often for little gain. Trench warfare resulted in a gruesome stalemate, with neither side able to achieve a decisive victory. Section 5. Blood and Iron Key Battles of the Western Front. The Western Front was the scene of some of the bloodiest battles in human history. Millions of soldiers fought and died in battles that raged for months, resulting in staggering casualties. The Battle of Verdun, fought from February to December 1916, was one of the longest and most costly battles of the war. German forces, seeking to bleed France white, launched a massive offensive against the fortified city of Verdun. French forces, determined to hold the city, fought with incredible tenacity, repelling the German onslaught. The Battle of the Somme, fought from July to November 1916, was another horrific battle that resulted in massive casualties. British and French forces launched a joint offensive against German lines, hoping to break the stalemate. However, the German defences proved formidable, and the offensive bogged down into a bloody stalemate. These battles and countless others fought on the Western Front exemplified the brutality of World War I. They left an indelible mark on the landscape and the psyches of those who fought in them. Section 6. The Eastern Front and Beyond. A World Ablaze. While the Western Front was characterized by trench warfare and a bloody stalemate, the Eastern Front was marked by greater fluidity and even greater brutality. The vast distances and harsh conditions of the Eastern Front made for a different kind of war, one often characterized by mobile warfare and sweeping offensives. Russia, with its massive army, initially posed a significant threat to the Central Powers. However, Russia's military was poorly equipped and led, and it suffered heavy losses in the early years of the war. The Battle of Tannenberg in August 1914 and the Battle of Masurian Lakes in September 1914 resulted in devastating defeats for the Russian army. The war on the Eastern Front was not confined to Europe. The Ottoman Empire, allied with the Central Powers, fought against Russia in the Caucasus and against British forces in the Middle East. The Gallipoli campaign, an attempt by Allied forces to capture the Ottoman capital of Constantinople, ended in disaster for the Allies. World War I was truly a global conflict, with battles fought in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific. Colonial troops from Africa, India, and elsewhere were drawn into the conflict, fighting for their colonial masters in a war far from their homes.